I got to figure out how to get that to fade out. I prefer a fade out. Hi everybody. Hi production. And don't say that. I'm not is this it's not mess. It's not mess. I just, we would talk about I see things coming down the pike. I want to get it established today, right now, here and everything. Since people want to come over here, let y'all know what this is and what this is not. So since we'll jump right on into it. It ain't mess. It ain't gonna be no mess because I don't want no mess. That's not what I do. Hi everybody. Hi everybody. So I want to address. We're going to watch something that I saw today that I felt like was um just so aligned with the conversation, the clip of the conversation that I had reposted, and it turns out that that clip of the conversation that I had posted got a lot of engagement, a lot for us over here. Says I'm still in the office. They better not try it. Corporate. Okay. um, it just got a lot of engagement that I wasn't expecting. I do want to say this too, though, before I get into, because I'm going to get activated again. I was very activated yesterday. Like I had to take a little bath and relax myself. Oh, speaking of which, I forgot. I like to, when I'm working and stuff, at least once a day, I like these incense. It's called Billion Bucks. It's by Blunt Effects Incense. This is not an advertisement. This is just what I like. And usually once a day, and I haven't burnt an incense today, but I think this is a good time to burn an incense and set the tone of the space, set the intention for the space and whatnot. Because I do kind of work in a ritualistic way. But yeah, we had some people come and make themselves known that they were here. Not necessarily gonna call them guests because they weren't per se invited. And what? Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to put it on the thing behind the. Hold on. Okay. They weren't necessarily invited, um, because I I recognize that like I'm on a public platform, and as long as the videos are public, people may see them. I also understand, y'all know we've talked about it so much here, how um thumbnails and stuff work. Thumbnails, uh titles, all that stuff works. That's your first line of I won't say defense, but that's your first introduction to people's consciousness, to people's attention. That's how you get. Is this gonna mess with the camera? I'm trying to figure out if the smoke is making. I'm seeing the camera doing some things. I'm wondering if it's because of the smoke. Um, I am trying to take not accountability because I didn't do anything. I was having a conversation with y'all in a way that I talk to y'all about stuff that we talk about. And we had what I felt like was a really good conversation. It was part of another stream that was not going to be available to people, but I felt like I wanted to keep it available to people who aren't going to be involved with, that series that I'm doing. But I felt like this would be appropriate to have out just for people to see. And so I clipped it and I made a thumbnail based on what we were discussing. Now, this is the thing. When you're discussing, when you got to make a thumbnail or something to encapsulate like what a discussion is about or something like that. Okay, I see the smoke now, but I don't think that's what is doing with the camera. When you make a thumbnail, whatever, like you're trying to encapsulate enough of an understanding. Hi, where were you? Where have you been? Oh, we need you. We need your energy in the space. But I was saying, like, you try to encapsulate as much of an understanding of what you're talking about in the thumbnail so people can opt in because they want to know what's being discussed or whatever. And that's what we were discussing. and we were discussing it in the way we were discussing. I don't feel any need to try to explain anything about how I discuss things here. Y'all know how we talk over here, what we talk about, and more importantly, who we're talking to over here. So that being said, I guess I hit the, when I wasn't even thinking about doing it, mind you, but I guess I hit the sweet spot of um a title and a thumbnail and the trending topics and whatever. And so we attracted some people over here that don't normally come over here, right? So with that came a lot of engagement that I wasn't expecting. And it was consistent, and it kept happening over the course of a solid 24 hours, because I woke up to just one little last something somebody said this morning. But I kind of wanted to, I didn't want to, because I talked to some of y'all last night, and I was just like, I was upset. I was upset because I was just like, this is exactly the shit I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about, because none of the people was talking about or addressed the point of what the conversation was about, of why I was saying what I was saying. I made it very clear, about this idea of what your objectives are, what your, when you are, oh, I didn't turn it on. When you are focused on or address the, sorry, when you are focused on one aspect of something, and then somebody else is like drawing your attention away from what you're actually focused on, what you actually want to do. And so I got all these new people coming in to my comment section, addressing what I said in that very way, talking about the very things that I said we need to stop talking to these men for, which is them, their feelings, their desires, and just them in general. So I want to address these things. And I know at least one of them is probably watching, because here's a problem too that bothers me too about it. I'm not necessarily, I am a dialogue person, but I'm not the type of person that gets in the type of dialogue people think you're supposed to have on social media. I'm not a mess channel, and I don't do that debating and then panels for debating and all that other stuff. I don't give a fuck what y'all think. I don't want to hear y'all opinions. They're stupid to me. I've heard enough of them. And not just because of why I live my life. No, because I actually took a year or two of my life and went and sat where y'all be talking at quietly. Because y'all don't know me. This is the first y'all seeing me. Because I went where y'all probably be at. And I was there and I was listening. And when I heard enough to get the information I needed to get to know what I needed to do, I went on about my business. And again, y'all didn't see me. Why? Because I don't make myself known to people I don't respect. I don't make myself known to people I don't like. I don't make myself known to people I think are ugly or fat or what or whatever, undesirable thing you want to throw out there. I don't make myself known to those people because those people have no use for me. I don't need to riff off of them to validate myself. And even though I'm not above a little petty fun every now and then, that's not how I live my life, and I don't need to keep a steady supply of that. I dib and dab where I want to, again, nowhere near you, and I go on back to doing what I do. So that being said, one of the people made a comment, and the comment was what it was. I didn't, it was just like, okay, you're insulting me. I don't care. Whatever. Didn't matter. Somebody else was getting with them, so I just said, let them know, like, you don't have to be here. And that was it. Later on, I saw that somebody had followed me. I did not put two and two together that person was that person. I just saw it was a male. I went to the person's page. I read, they do content. I read their channel description or whatever, the little blurb at the top. I read that. I kind of skimmed through their thumbnails or whatever. I didn't see anything that made me feel like, oh, this person is problematic. Didn't necessarily mean I was like, oh yeah, this is a friend, but I didn't see anything that made me feel like I needed to try to block that person at that moment or anything. So I was just like, okay, whatever. As long as they don't come up here with the bullshit, they can stay. I don't care. But then when I got back to my comments and they were like in the middle of something with somebody, and that's when from going to their page, I recognized the name and I'm like, oh, that's you. So you think I'm fat? Nobody sees you.
I know.
Oh, are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm okay too. Since you think I'm fat, why are you following me? You don't agree with what I said. You feel however you feel about what I said. None of it is positive. None of it is, suggesting that we would be friends. You know what I mean? What are you here for? So that's when that person, I unfortunately YouTube does not allow you to block people in the traditional sense. But I did mute that person. So if that person is watching, if that person is here, you can type to your heart's content, but we're not going to see it. However, I do have access to what you said before. And I just want you to know, because this is and this is what we need to get straight about where you're at and how we get down over here. Should I need to, I can pull that stuff up and deliver it to the people that would need to know it so that I can paint a picture of you harassing me. Now, right now, it don't have to be that. But I'm saying that that's what I'm talking about when you watch how people operate and read into the subtext. Because again, if you don't fuck with me and my message and what I'm saying and how I'm saying it, whatever, what I look like, anything that you feel like you don't like about me, but then you follow me, what are you doing that for other than to perpetuate later conflicts, antagonism, beef, whatever? What are you doing that for? I don't do that. I don't want that. I won't tolerate that. I'll do everything I can on my end to, prevent that. So I'm letting you know I'm already lining it up so that it's clear as day for whoever needs to be the judge of it, whose intention has been what. But it can end here if you let it. That's all I'm going to say. And that goes for anybody, right? But that was the only person, like I said, that I saw I felt like was teeing themselves up to try to be a menace moving forward. No, you don't not here. That's not going to happen here. But other than that, I do want to get into these comments a little bit. Oh, I gotta get on y'all too. I gotta get on y'all a little bit too. Not get on y'all like I use the language I'm playing with you, but I'm saying because I was really upset yesterday. Like I was really upset yesterday, and I went and I took like a relaxing bath, and I just took some time and just went to bed and everything. Just watched some TV. Like I didn't do any kind of work of any kind. And I was just kind of processing and figuring out, okay, why am I upset? What am I upset about? And how could I manage it? Because the reality of it is, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to put myself out here, this is going to happen. People are going to find me. And yeah, not here. People are going to find me. And some people are going to be upset by what I say. And some people are going to be upset enough to, speak to me like that. And some people are just because we're in the same rooms doesn't necessarily mean we're at the same capacity for comprehension. And my point is, the bigger I get, and I'm not at all trying to say that I'm big right now, but I'm saying if this can happen at this level, it can happen at future levels, bigger, and it may be a bigger situation. My point is that one of the things that I think would have helped me in that sense was if I had other things to focus on. And so what I'm saying is I'm going to ask of you guys that come and everything, and some of you do. This is not an admonishment in any kind of way, and this is not trying to diminish anything that you've done, any engagement you've given me. But I would like to be able to go into my comments and see the people that I'm talking to, as opposed to these people. Like, my comments was full of these strangers talking at me about shit I wasn't even saying, or shit I just didn't care about. And it would have been nice for me to be able to just go in and ignore them, because I have so much other comments and stuff that I could address. And I'm not saying, like, you ain't gotta blow no smoke up my behind or nothing like that. But you know what I mean? Like, talk to me about what you liked about what I said, or something that stood out to you, whatever it is. Engagement is currency. And another thing that concerns me about the way that went down, because like I said, it was happening so rapidly. It was like, okay, I would hate, because nobody really knows exactly how the algorithm works, but what I would hate is that the algorithm decides that, oh, well, this is how, because at the end of the day, they're not housing my platform or any of these platforms just because they like to see people get together. This is about money. And if they're saying that, oh, well, these are the people that are going to engage and, and bring commerce and do stuff, then these are the people we're going to show her stuff to. I know I don't want that. I know y'all don't want that. So this is me and I know a lot of these things are things we don't think about. We're just passively engaging with these apps and things like that. So what I'm asking of you, my community, is that you just make a conscious effort to put comments under my thing, even if you're just stepping in for a minute, whatever it is, just put comments under my thing, so that if and when other people are coming in, I can be talking to y'all and not just psychologically dealing with that. You know what I mean? I hope you understand what I'm saying, because it was my nervous system was completely dysregulated. I do a lot of work. I do a lot of work to keep the spaces around me balanced and chill. Hey, Summer. And my nervous system was very dysregulated. In a lot of ways, I hate that I was that upset. You know what I mean? But I know myself. I do things the way I do because I know myself, and I know how certain things affect me, and I know how it's not um it's not a thing of like, oh, I can't take pressure. It's a thing of like, some those people were coming over to do harm. They were coming over to be mean and nasty. But and as someone who goes out of their way, like I said, it ain't that I don't have opinions. She said, I was riding hard for you. You're not the proud. You were. No, thank you. And I thank you for it. And when I say I want to see y'all thing, I'm not telling y'all to come and I'm not admonishing anybody that did respond to any of those people, but I'm saying I want y'all talk to me. You know what I mean? Like, I want it to be a thing of when we're in the middle of a storm, we looking at each other. You know what I mean? We're locking eyes with each other. We're not, because these people don't matter. That's really the ultimate thing, is at the end of the day, these people don't matter unless we let them. Unless we allow them to suck up all the fucking air in a room, unless we allow them to keep derailing conversations and siphoning off resources of time, energy, money, whatever we have, whatever we're able to accumulate. They can't do that unless we allow them to, and we have to be cognizant and aware of the ways, of all the ways, big and small. Okay, good. What? Because all the other places don't have to. But again, they marketing that type of stuff. And I even had some. We're going to go through the comments because it's a few enough comments that we could hit them all, and I can make content out of it because they came over here. But I do kind of want to I do kind of want to like touch on these things because they proved the point. And I don't know how many of y'all did any of y'all watch that video that had Diddy on it? Hold on, let me check and see. Okay, good. So it's this video right here. This is the video, right? But can we? We're not gonna watch it right now because we need the comments. I want to go down to the comments. Okay. So I'm not going to Let's make sure they're all there. No, I don't need the top. Let's go to the newest, and then we could just scroll down to the bottom and go from there. Let's begin at the beginning, shall we? Okay. So the first comments, these were the first two comments. I'm laughing, but these were the first two comments. Thank you guys for your comments as well. I liked them or whatever. That was the first two, and that was like, at least 12 hours of that's all I had. Then we get to Black women can't tell black men anything. You've been co-opted since the 60s. You willingly participate. Wait a minute, I don't even remember this one. You willingly participate in the destruction of black communities as long as it benefits you. All liberals have to do is give y'all commercials saying black girl magic and you all help promote their agendas. I'm not talking about any of that shit. I mean, I guess in a way I am, but again, my point was that our objective is helping people. And yeah, while I can understand the issues that people have with liberals, the way that liberals are able to get the support of black women specifically is because all of their stuff is talking about social safety nets and things like that. Now, are there problems with the Democratic Party and how they execute these things? And, yeah, everything like that. But the conversation I was having was about how black women, once we talk to these men and realize that they're talking past us, around us, or they're not having the same conversations we're having, even though we are dialoguing together, that maybe we just drop doing that and focus on talking to the people whose objectives align with our objectives and take our brain power, our know-how, our skill sets, everything like that, which they are currently, this current administration is systemically trying to strip the prestige of those things. But those things persist. They have, in the value they have in terms of being knowing how to do things. Like you can't take that from people that they know how to do certain things. But taking those skill sets, especially now that we're having more people laid off and more time on our hands, to come together and build something and not keep getting caught up in these nut ass conversations around men being butt hurt that women are not centering them or women are doing things that may, because a lot of women are doing things that may cause them not to center men, but they're still centering men enough for them to be able to come into these conversations and derail the conversation. So this was the one that really, these two, they're set. This was the one that really kind of was like, all right, we've reached that sect of people. So she says, if you're attracting those kind of men, work on yourself along with, I'm going to do a package deal. Learn what it means to not be selfish in a relationship, and relationship is about the other person. Who was talking about relationships? When were we talking about relationships? Let me see what y'all are saying. Who was talking about relationships at all? I'm coming over here to see what y'all reactions. Yeah, they proved my point in a lot of ways. So, I got, because this isn't about, oh, I clap back. All the things are there. If you want to see what I said to everybody, they're there under the thing. This one, we don't want black women. Truth be told, y'all should focus on interracial. Oh, these must be ones that. Why can I see it on computer then? I can't see some of these on my phone. I didn't see some of these. This Paul Masson one. And also, some of these people must be black, because I did see like that there were some comments, but I couldn't see them like in my YouTube studio. And I figured they were people that are already black or whatever. So I'm just seeing this. It says, we don't want black women, truth be told. Y'all should focus on interracial dating because black men don't see y'all as a prize and never will. So it's useless. Go find something else to do. This is the first I'm seeing this. The part that confuses me, this isn't the only comment something like that. But even coming in on this prison, we don't want black women, truth be told. Why are you over here? If you don't want black women, this is clearly a black woman channel. The branding, everything, the content matter, everything about this says this is a women's channel. That's before actually getting to the point that you just clearly didn't comprehend the conversation. Because in the conversation, I was saying, hey, let's just leave them alone. I didn't say fuck them, kill them, do all this stuff to them. I said, hey, let's just not worry about them for a while. Maybe at some point things can get to a point where people get. I even had hope for people that still wanted to, maybe at some point we could come back together and it'll be okay. But it wasn't a conversation of doom and gloom. It was just like, this is the state of things right now. It doesn't seem to be working for us. We don't seem to like what's going on. We don't seem to want what's going on. And I don't think the girlies are recognizing that there's nothing they can do, in the sense that they're thinking they can do something, because in order for the things that women think they can do to work, these men have to care about what we care about, and they don't. So y'all should focus on interracial date. Again, always focus on dating and mating. Where was I talking about dating? When was I talking about people being together? When was I talking about marriage? Where was I talking about anything that had to do with people engaging romantically and or sexually? That wasn't what the conversation was about. That's why I need y'all to keep your asses out of my fucking business. You don't have the range. You're concerned about shit I don't care about. And considering you're saying that you don't like us and this and that and the other, I'm even further befuddled as to why you're talking to me. I don't know you. You're making yourself known to me. You needed me to know something about how you don't like. Okay. Go back and look at this content with some actual logical women and do this episode again. Nonsensical foolishness. Who the fuck are you? You don't tell me what to do over here. Keep it moving. I know what the fuck I said. I know what the fuck we said. I said it. I downloaded the recording. I clipped it. I edited it. I made a thumbnail. I made a title and I posted it. I know what the fuck I said. It's not for you. Oh, this one is something. I did not see this. Touched by the Sun. This feels feminine. Let's see. And I don't mean that in like, oh, it's a feminine man. I mean, like, this feels like a one. Black women don't deserve black men. How why should black men look past histories of hate that black women poured into black men? This really was doing numbers. I did not see none of these things. All those killed babies, all the lies, all the broken homes, all the white men and women are better lovers, BS, going to the KKK, harm black men to control black men, all the PhDs, 6 foot, sit pack, 6 figures, BS. Nah, black men deserve love, not the black women's evil and hate. Then why are you coming here and making yourself known to a woman you assume hates you? I don't know you. I don't give a fuck about you. I'm annoyed by you. You're annoying me. And quite honest, I might even pity you a little bit. Because why are you so fucking like, if you don't like black women, if you feel like black women, and I'm gonna be clear, me, how I talk about black men and everything, because like you, I felt disrespected by black men. I felt disregarded by black men. I felt used. I felt, all the things, right? And my conclusion that I came to was like, oh, black men equal feeling like this. Black men equal being treated like this. Black men, maybe I shouldn't interact with them. Y'all will do every single thing, but just not interact with us. This wasn't a conversation for you. I wasn't talking to you. And furthermore, I was talking to the women about leaving y'all alone. And that's another thing I had to keep asking people, like, what part of what I said are you engaging with? Because it's like, did y'all even listen? What are y'all responding to? How they find your page? I guess because I had Diddy and everything on there. Like, I'm guessing that the thumbnail and or the title hit different. And this is what it is really at the end of the day. And we'll talk about, because they crave attention from any and all black women. There's literally no reason for them to be over here. This is unhinged behavior. And that's what it is. And I've been saying to y'all for years. I think that a lot of what we see of people pooling in certain places and all that back and forth that everybody's willing to do on both ends is very sexually charged. It's sexually charged. You're not going to tell me any different, because this is how women are able to get money on OnlyFans. If I wanted to, and y'all know this because we know from before, where we all used to hang out at before, them men will pay good money. If I were to sit up here and turn this channel or make another channel and turn it into me talking, especially the way I was talking to these men in the comments and everything, and I just talk to them like that, oh, I would make so much money. Don't let me put the titties up. Because they just want to interact. Booty is like, she said, I know people like this in real life. No one is talking about dating and relationships, and they have to bring it up. All these lies they keep telling themselves is so weird. They despise black women for no reason. Comprehension is zero. So she spoke about one of their She said they ran to defend his name by proving her. Listen, that's going to be the one. This is one particular guy. I'm like, you especially have fully proved my point. This one, black men gave y'all the answers to the test and still failed. Are all the things here? Because it looked like everybody's here. He said, we passed with flying colors while you're still arguing over your F score because you chose not to read and follow attention. I just thought this was funny. And he was like, I was like, by what metrics exactly? I'm intrigued. Okay, I didn't see, these are things, I'm not even seeing the things anymore. It says the metrics is income, marriages, productive children, social structure, and outcomes. Mind you, at the end, like right at the end, I gave an anecdote. It is an anecdote, but I was saying, as someone who, I've been a single mother through both of my children. My oldest child is a grown woman. My youngest child is 11. When I was with my oldest child, I was concerned about marriages. I was doing okay, fine, income wise, but I was concerned about getting marriage and all that other thing and structure and all that stuff. So I was making decisions from a male centered standpoint of like, oh, well, I have to have a man around. I have to get a man around. Specifically, I have to get her father. My life was miserable, which is so funny. Like the girl, the other lady that was saying all that stuff, at some point I responded to her and she came out with the whole, you don't have no man, you miserable type thing. You need your energy, all this other bullshit. When I literally said at the end of that video, this video we're under, that once I got to a point where I was just like, you know what, I'm going to leave all that man shit to the side. I'm just going to focus on being a parent and focus on, cultivating my relationship with my child and making sure that she's cool. I had a completely different experience. When I was male centered, I was having trouble with my daughter in school all the time. Like we had a rocky relationship because I was not happy with myself. I was not happy with my life. And the things that I wasn't happy with my life about had to do with all of these metrics that they'll continue to feed you and say, oh, you're insufficient, you're insufficient, you're insufficient, because it's meant to have you, hustling to try to shuck and jive for them. And so when I was like, well, you know what? I'm just going to focus on what I can control and what I got going on. I got me and I got these kids. So let me just focus on me and these kids. And now I'm having that experience where I have the social proof of going out into the world and having people respond to me a certain way solely off of the way my kid shows up. The assumption is that I have to be a good person because my kid is such a good person. My kid is such a quality individual. And I've experienced that in multiple places, in multiple arenas. You know what I mean? So I'm saying, you can say whatever you want to say to me. It's not going to affect me. However, I know it's affecting other women right now. And I'm trying to show them, you don't That's how they get you. When they got you buying into that thing that you are deficient because you don't have a man, you can't keep a man, there's never going to be structure in the home. Your logic is subjective to your objective. Maybe you don't have structure in your home because you're thinking there can't be any unless there's a man there. Or the structure that you could build within your home is being wonky and everything because you're so busy trying to keep the man, not paying attention to the stuff. I'm talking about how they think so that you can recognize the game that's being run on you, and you can recognize, oh, that man's not really here to stay, or that man's not here to do what it is I'm actually wanting a man to do in this house. And so now the changes you're going through are destabilizing you and your kid. So we don't necessarily disagree, but we disagree about why and how to fix it. And I'm over here talking to the girl. And my thing is, I'm okay with being wrong. But y'all been saying this same shit for 60 years. The shit you're saying is the shit that y'all been saying since the civil rights movement. And what I'm saying is, I don't feel like people were having the conversations I'm having. Because my conversations aren't just about we can do what men do and this and that and the other. I'm talking about what does it really look like to build stability in your life? What are the components of stability, mental and emotional stability? And what do they require? Do they really require a man? If you take a minute to step back and think about it, how do you feel when you're dealing with men? Do you feel secure? Or are you always going through changes, twisting in the wind, worrying about how he feels, if he's getting enough sex, if he feels like a man, if he feels submitted to, and all this other stuff? All these conversations that are being had are always about that shit. And these kids are fucked. What if we actually talked about children's experience and how they feel? Are they feeling centered? Are they feeling valued? Are they feeling affirmed? No, why not? A lot of times because mom's chasing dick. Mom's worried about dick. And I want to be clear. This is not a thing of me saying, oh, women should never have a man and this and that and the other. I'm saying that the way we have been trained to engage around sex and relationships and things like that is off kilter to what is actually needed to build and maintain stability. And I personally think it would be nice to at least try and see what it would be like to try something different. Because I know as an individual, it has worked very well for me. That's what I talk about over here. So if you don't like Black women and you don't feel like Black women deserve Black men and all the things, wonderful. Take that shit somewhere else. I don't give a fuck. And I mean that genuinely. I don't care about any of that. Let's see. What was Kamala Harris's message to Black? Again, what we talking? It's pointless talking to Black women. Who is he addressing? It's pointless. It's pointless talking to Black women. We had this conversation for the last 50 years. Everything has only gotten worse. Black women will never get it, and it's a headache to deal with. Was that not pretty much everything I said verbatim in my thing? And my message was, women, stop talking to Black men. Why are you, Black man, in my comments saying this about me? Because I'm assuming you either didn't hear that or you didn't recognize that was, oh my God, why does this happen? Hold on, I'm gonna turn this off while this car alarm is on because it bothers me. As soon as I muted it, went off. Okay, so again, because this is not about this thing of, oh, I'm upset they feel this way. Why are you making how you feel my problem? That was what I was saying the whole time. Why are you making how you feel my problem? I do not be in your comment sections or the comment section of your favorite content creator talking the way that I talk here. Why? Because I know y'all ain't fucking with that. Why are you in my comment section? Why would a man be here? Well, some of you know, we have men that get to come here, but you know what I mean. Like, why are you here? It says, wait a second. If men don't have the power, then it means women have it. So who's responsible for the downfall of the community? Was that the conversation? Comprehension? No. Black women are pathetic. How can you not see that you're the problem? Comprehension in the trash. How? And I want to. Can you not see that you're the problem? We're the problem in the sense of interacting with you, right? That's the angle you're coming from, because we won't listen to you, because we won't do what you say, because we won't make sure that you have everything that you say that you. When we have ourselves, we have the elderly, we have the children to tend for, but everything that is wrong comes down to Black women not acquiescing to you. Mind you, though, and we'll get to it when we come to it, because that guy, he has a main thing. Do we need to get gotten through to, though? I really don't think so. Did I ask you? Conversation for women. Why are women not getting it? Should be the title. The solution is to marry before you have children. Where are all these comments coming from? I was looking at this stuff like on my phone. I did not see all these comments. Most men are single without children, so this topic is irrelevant. Also, CDC stated that Black men take care of their children better. Take care of their children better than all men on the planet. Black men are the main ones trying to rebuild the community, while women tell Black men they are not needed. Black men want and need Black women, but Black women don't want Black men. You talk about Bill Diddy and others. What about the Cassies? Here we go. The woman who tricks these young girls into human trafficking. Talk about how Black women have turned relationships and dating into prostitution. I was having a conversation about not interacting with y'all at all. If we're not interacting with y'all at all, none of that is happening. Right? None of that's happening, isn't it? If we're not interacting with y'all, we're not doing any of those things you talk about. Here we If you hate this, the one. This was the. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I bust out laughing, but this was the one. He said, if you hate Black men, just say that. You're a low information. If you're a low information person, just say that. But please find some way to get to the truth. For instance, Diddy, Cosby, Russell, or other powerful Black men are not singular, simplex beings. Please don't talk to me about the words he used, whether they exist, whether they're used in the right context or whatever. I overlooked all of that just to get to the point to move past whatever we're doing. So they're multifaceted, complex human beings, just like all other groups of human. Mind you, they're multifaceted, complex human beings, just like single mothers. But yes, somebody's up here about to come at me about single mothers. Where is this? Oh, I will pin it. See, I ain't even see that yet. There's so much. I went to bed, child. I was tired. It says, therefore, it's not true they're all bad nor good. Like every human, Black men are both good and bad at the same time. So to imply that Black men only do horrible things when you give them power is ludicrous. Diddy, for example, here we go. Strap in for this one. Diddy, for example, did many great things for the community, and he was considered a great man until people also learned he did some bad things. Newsflash, most humans with power do some good and some bad. Even mafia bosses give out turkeys and pay tuitions. Or look at Russell Simmons. To say he did no good for his community is just stupid because he did some bad things in regards to women. We're supposed to see him as a pariah to the community. Ironically, I never hear that same energy applied towards Kimora Lee. Now, why is that? I don't know what Kimora was supposed to. Point is, that trying to lay the blame for all the community's problems at the feet of Black men or Black women alone will get us nowhere. We're all responsible and we need to fix it. Yes, Kimora Lee needs to fix the fact that they're grown children who have had their own experiences with their father. The one that was in Bali for the last 6 months that apparently didn't see him. I assume when I heard she was in Bali that she had went to see him, but apparently she hadn't, and that's why he's currently crashing out on the internet talking about she's keeping him away from 23 to 25-year-old women, people, autonomous beings, that she's keeping them away from him. They have their own relationships with that man. You know, those same relationships that y'all say that women are trying to get in between with people, they have their own relationships with him. And I believe it was last year sometime, or maybe right before last year, that Aoki came out and said, hey, I actually don't like the way when I'm trying to bond with you and I'm trying to talk to you about our relationship, that you actually try to talk shit about my mom and expect me to just sit there and listen to you talk shit about my mom. My mom doesn't talk shit about you. My mom and I's relationship is based off of a mutual love for each other. She said that publicly to her father specifically. But oh, he may have had, what did he say? What was his words? Just because he did some bad things in regard to women, the bad things being allegedly rape. Same thing with the Diddy did some good stuff. And I'm be honest, I don't know what the good stuff was he was supposed to do, but I know that the good things that could be attributed to him, like, oh yeah, he put a bunch of black people on and he changed the culture and this and that and the other. Every single person that worked with him closely is destitute. They can't pay their fucking bills. Some of them are dead and dying. And I'm not talking about the Tupac and Biggie stuff, because Teray, the journalist, had some information that I believe Teray, and I know Teray hates that man's guts, but he's like, yeah, based off of what I know, I'm not going to put that on him. So I will trust this person who has a track record of hating Diddy, but also has access to information that in this particular instance doesn't line up with the narrative being placed. So it's not, I don't have dogs in all the fights you think I have. I have a more practical stance of, is this stuff working? And there's certain things and arguments and stuff that's not working, in the sense of like, oh, well, women should be prioritizing men in this way. It's not working for them. And I know that because those same women that buy into that shit will be the same ones coming on the social media and going, my husband isn't doing this or that or the other. My husband said this really, disrespectful, disregarding thing to me. My husband did this stuff. Ha 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 ha. I'm seeing what the girlies that fall in line and get on y'all program. That's what y'all say, what they're going through. That's not for me. And I'm saying that as neutrally as possible. That's just not something I'm interested in. Y'all can turn it into, oh, you sad, you lonely, and this and that and the other. That's not, it don't look like anything I want to do. That's not how I want to spend my time and energy. Yes, Diddy stole from his art. That's what I'm like. And that's why, and I'm gonna read y'all what I said to him. This was specifically, I said, everything you said just proved my point. To flatten these men using their power and resources to create systems that they use to override, if not violate, implicit consent. These are people, these are not just, oh, they did a few bad things. No, the things that they did, specifically to the point that I was making about how these men idolize entities like Genghis Khan and Hitler, is because they like that idea that people's boundaries don't have to mean anything. And that there can be flexible if you have enough money and power. So that you can turn around and say, what about Cassie? What the fuck about her? I'm about to get big for this. I'm about to get big for this. When it comes to this idea of Cassie and other people and victims being culpable for the things that predators do. And they're predators because, again, it's not just in the heat of the moment type of thing of like, oh, I just have this thing and it takes me over. It's, oh no, I'm going to set up these systems. I'm going to set up these people. I'm going to set up, this money. I'm going to put all this stuff towards the end of when I encounter someone. I don't even know who it is just yet. But when I encounter someone that I want to violate in that way, I want all this stuff already taken care of. So before they even know what's happening, I've already taken what I wanted from them. And that's the problem. So when we're talking about people like Diddy has shown himself to be and been proven to be, this is the woman. This is the man. This is where the woman's boundary is. This is the man just on the right side of that person's boundary. And what happens with these kind of people is that they push and push and push. And because these women are not recognizing the things that I was talking about in that conversation where I was saying we need to leave these people alone, what happens is this keeps moving. And by the time it gets so crazy, you're all the way the fuck over here when you started out and meant to be here. And this person this is where the boundary began. This person is now here. So this person has gone over your boundary, but because they were able to wear you down and push you over here, they can technically say, oh, well, I didn't go over your boundary. I'm not playing them fucking games with y'all. That's why I say women need to leave y'all the fuck alone. I don't play them technicality games because it's still bullshit. Because you were supposed to be here and now the fuck you're here. I don't care that I'm here. And the only reason that I'm here is because I cared about you. You talk about women don't like. This is why women be there. This is why women be getting pushed. When they care about what y'all have to say, when they think y'all can do something for them, when they think that y'all maybe are on online and they can rehabilitate you and they can lift you up and they can help you build and all these other stuff, they wind up over here and y'all tell them that it's their fault. And you say, but I'm not on, I'm still on the right side of your boundary. The boundary was here. But there's somebody like me that's standing right here and pushing your ass back. I got to be a misandrist and I got to hate men and I got to do it. Guess what? Call it what the fuck you want. I'm not playing with y'all because I want to do other things. So don't come over here with that bullshit. I don't give a fuck about it. I hope you find the woman of your dreams. I hope that woman really truly wants whatever the fuck it is you're offering. I do. I hope all y'all people that are aligned in these things find each other and you get together and you get happy and you make babies and the babies are happy. And I really do. But there's a lot of shit going on indicating that that's not what's happening. And I'm over here offering practical solutions. The first of which is getting your fucking mind right to actually understand what's going on. So that you could be making decisions instead of concessions. Because a big problem that's going on with women is that you're having bonding conversations and bonding encounters with people that are bargaining with you. These niggas are bargaining all the time. That's how you start out here and wind up here. It's always a bargain. It's always a negotiation. It's always a whatever. And what you're not realizing is that caveat that I always have to feel dominant means that this boundary is never going to exist because he wants to be able to lead you and place you wherever he wants to place you while still being able to say, oh, will you let me? Oh, will you let me? It's your fault because you let me. Watch me clip that. They're going to be pissed at that one. They're going to be pissed at that one too. So what I'm saying is, if you're telling me that whenever I interact with you, in order for my interactions with you to be righteous, I have to trust you and follow your lead. But you're also telling me that if I feel like you're leading me astray, but I still follow your lead because that's what I'm supposed to do. And I wind up where you put me at, and it gets to a point where I'm like, whoa, this is way too much. I got something needs to be done. And it's to the point where something needs to be done because the nigga had a whole enterprise of people. It wasn't just a matter of, oh, this is just between two people. This is whole corporations, staff involved in his bullshit. It get to that point, but I was supposed to be able to combat it while also being a woman that knows her place as a woman is supposed to acquiesce to her. Get the fuck out my face. Get the fuck out my face. Let me get back to where we were. We might not do all of these. Child, I ain't even know. Let me say Alvin. Who the fuck? Glorious Miguel are the sister girls trying to get here. Who are these people? Who are these? But I tell you, this was the last one I saw this morning. This is the last one I saw. This one, I did feel kind of bad that I yelled at him because I saw he called himself trying to explain. I felt like this energy was the same kind of energy of like the women be, oh, I'm just trying to explain and bridge the gap. You're not understanding. There is no bridge. You were not invited. That's number one. Number two is he says these men are simply trying to convey what they want from their women. It's honestly been the same complaint since I was old enough to pay attention to grown folks' conversation in the 90s. Sadly, when men express what they want from their women, they're often shamed, ridiculed, similar to what you all did. First of all, someone that wants to be submitted to the level of a Diddy, a Russell Simmons, a Genghis, like somebody that wants power in order to do that with it should be shamed. That's number one. Number two is that's not the conversation we were having about what men want and how they need to feel. Like this is one of those types of comments where I can feel the yearning for validation. This is not this is not a man validation conversation. And it didn't have to devolve so deeply into a man bashing conversation, but y'all came and proved the fucking point I was making when literally I was fine with, hey, we need to stop trying to have these conversations with them because their mind is on this and our mind is on this, and these things do not mix. So I told this person, every conversation is not the place nor time to be discussing that. That was my entire point. Y'all have come into the comment section of a space clearly for women on behalf of men TM because I did not center the opinions and preferences of men during a conversation about decentering men with a woman, and then thought it appropriate to try and make that my problem. But you're upset that I said that we as women got to put some space between us and y'all for a while so we can actually get some stuff done without y'all wasting our energy. Okay. And the last one I saw, if y'all hate men so much, why are a lesbian community? Y'all complain about men you don't like or respect every day. Y'all claim y'all don't need men, but always on the internet with expectations for men. Serious question. If you could snap your finger, what would you have black men do? And I told him, I would have y'all comprehend just how annoying it is to never have any kind of dialogue with y'all about anything that doesn't devolve into what you want and how you feel. This was a conversation on a woman's platform with a woman where I said that women could get more shit done if we recognize that y'all aren't worried about what we're worried about and just accept that and do what we women are capable of in a coordinated and intentional effort. Yet my comments are full of men and one woman talking about how I don't have no man, my weight, all male-centered insults because who cares but a man. And dun dun dun, what men want and how men feel. And I told him, go read the comments and tell me I'm wrong. And then I came back, and another thing, because it pissed me off. I said, you're here talking about lesbian colony. That's y'all problem too. Always focus on who's fucking who. This was a conversation about taking care of community, and you're focused on women getting access to the pussy you think men should have. Male-centered and annoying. So that's where we are. Like I said, I there was some other She said, getting that from your conversation is crazy. I let it, and then I said, this is why we need to stop trying to involve them in the stuff we're doing. We need to just do what we need to do. And then they came and proved my point. Yeah, absolutely disgusting, shameful, and insane. Says so many people participate in an abuse and protect the predators. Absolutely disgusting, shameful, and insane. Yeah. Can I? Yeah, I could do this. Cassie was 19 when the contact started, mind you. And remember what I said about the boundary situation. So this with, mind you, it can be hard enough as a grown person. I was going through stuff like that in my 20s with my baby father. But Cassie was 19, Kimura was 16. The habitual line stepping. You know what I mean? And it was, mind you, I was going through that stuff with him in my 20s. Like, we went through all that stuff. I was 28 when I finally stopped dealing with, like, my oldest daughter's father. I was 28 when I was just like, enough. And it literally was just like, enough. I'm tired. I can't do, you see it? Like, I'm like, this is annoying. I'm not getting nowhere. I don't even care that much about it. I thought I needed it, but I was just desperate to like have some peace in my life. I was like, I'm gonna have to just try it without him. Like, really give it the good college try, just not worry about it. And I'm telling you, things got so much fucking better. Oh my God. Night and day. Right? But what was I talking about? They're young, and we're talking about that conversation of like going back and forth with your boundaries. These conversations, we're saying, oh, we want this, we did it, and it's always about a negotiation of boundaries, and it's all centered around, oh, well, what can I get out of you, and what do you want to do for me, and I don't want you doing anything, thinking about things, doing anything in a way that might make you realize just how much of my fucking time and energy, how much of your fucking time and energy I'm taking up. You should imagine us shaming a famous rapper who raped men allegedly. So anyway, I just wanted to let all of y'all know, see your way out. I'm not having these. I know that you're triggered by what I'm saying, but you literally don't have to hear what I'm saying. You literally can not hear what I'm saying. I'm not that big. It's like, it's some of these people, and I'm saying it as somebody who actively blocks people, actively blocks certain words and phrases on different things. Like, I go out of my way to keep myself away from people who feel this way about me, who feel that, that they're in bringing that bullshit to me, to my domain. I go out of my way to stay away, to not even be triggered to point of interacting. Do I enter on Twitter? Sometimes because you scroll and the stuff will come up, and y'all know sometimes I'll be scrolling and I'll find something. I'll be like, do y'all see this? Because it came upon me. But I do not seek this stuff out. But I'm saying that even with me doing all the filtering and the blocking and this and that, stuff does filter through sometimes, right? And especially stuff with like particular people, like that whole Brene situation. Because I didn't follow Brene. I don't follow Peaches McIntyre. I don't follow E. Kane. I don't follow like none of them. But every now and then, stuff of their stuff will come in because they're so big that so many people are talking. So it'll overlap sometimes, and it'll filter through the people that I do follow, right? So I get that it's possible. Oh, oh wow. I get that it's possible that this stuff came to their feed through no fault of their own. You know what I mean? It's not me saying, "Oh, you was looking for me." No, I'm saying, okay, I came across your feed. You saw me. You don't agree. You don't like me. Whatever, like that. Do what you can do to prevent me from darkening your doorway ever again. Because I'm gonna let you know that I'm gonna leave these things up, right? Because again, this is we're new to y'all. We've been here, right? We're new to y'all. And this is even assuming that some of y'all may have already done it, and I appreciate you for that. But any of y'all stragglers, or any person who agrees with any of the things that you saw, you weren't a part of that, but you agree with any of the right now, right here, you need to go and hit that do not recommend. See yourself out, because what I'm going to do and what the people here already know that I normally do, like I said, this was just a large influx, but I used to have every now and then a straggler here and there. I'm going to uh I'm going to mute you. I haven't muted the only one person I muted because, like I said, he clearly was rearing up to do some bullshit. But I haven't muted any of those people. I'm not even. I've already. There's enough there for anybody if they want to go through things and trigger themselves. And I'm talking about the people that don't like me or whatever. I responded to enough people where it got to the point where it was getting repetitive, and so I don't feel the need to respond to anybody else. It's all there. All my feelings about the situation, about their presence here, about everything is there. So if you're a mature adult, you get the point. You need to just go. Like I said about the other dude, if you come over here with some BS, I will do what I need to do from my end to make your departure as permanent as possible. And that's up to including getting authorities of any kind, whatever kind is necessary involved. YouTube authorities, what's that called? Police authorities, whoever. I'm not here to argue with y'all. I'm not here to win these debates. I'm not. Don't feel bad, Alicia. You know I was feeling. I was upset yesterday when I said I said my poor sweet Alicia goes through this at least once a year. So if you could go through it and you be saying the most innocuous stuff, it don't even be necessarily the ones where you're saying anything inflammatory. It literally be something that's just so they be foaming at the mouth of you. So who am I to think that I don't have to experience that if I'm going to put myself on, out in public? But I don't have to interact with y'all. I don't owe y'all any explanations. I'm not sorry. I said what I said. I meant every word. I live my raps. And my hope is that the girlies, find their way to finding the kind of peace that I was able to find when I let this shit go. Because it's just not worth it at the end of the day. It's draining. I feel drained. Even just a little bit of time y'all been here, I feel drained. So, um, yeah, that's that. Um, I said Alicia attracting hate like Mother Nature is amazing. Child, what was that one you did when you was like overachievers or something? I don't even. And your whole message is just like, hey, care for yourself. Take care of yourself. Don't push yourself into into infirmary. She said there's a risk with showing up, but we shouldn't have to experience harm. Yeah, but like I said, I as a forward thinking adult, I know that this comes with the territory. You know what I mean? And so it's not that it's not about woe is me. It's just about look, I deal with my kids this way. I'm an if then person. If you do this, then I'm gonna do this. And that's what this situation is. I'm letting y'all know that I see y'all. I acknowledge your presence. I'm letting you know how we do things here and how it's going to go here. If you don't like it, you can go. No, let me rephrase that. If you don't like it, go. I know you can. Go. Leave. Scram. Skedaddle. Skidoo. Split. Vamonos. Get out. Because if you didn't like that, you're going to hate a lot of other things probably that I have to say. And I personally don't make a habit of triggering myself through other people, which again is why I engage on social media the way I do. When I see people talking certain ways about Black women, when I see people talking certain ways about single mothers and any other category that I might fit into, I go, oh yeah, it ain't for me. Because it's not my business. What y'all, what people that don't fuck with me think about me is not my business. And if you feel like I don't fuck with you, I'm not making it, I didn't make it your business. I get that you saw it, because it's public or whatever, but I can't, like, I literally tried to block that one guy, and the best that I could do was mute him. So he still will see me. Unless he does stuff on his end not to see me, he will still see me. There's nothing I can do about that. I literally I would have blocked every single one of y'all that was up in here talking smack because you didn't like what was. I would have done you the favor for you of blocking you. Were that an option for me? It's up to you. Empower yourselves. So with that being that, I have something really special for you guys. I saw this and to me, because I told a couple people yesterday, I was like, I might talk about this or whatever, like what was going on at the time. I was like, I might talk about this. And then I was like, you know what? Let me relax. Let me regulate my nervous system, see how I feel, whatever. And then I was just kicking it today. And I started watching this thing and I'm like, oh my God, they're talking about every single thing. The conversation I had, the stuff that was going on in the comments, all of those things, it kind of felt encapsulated in this thing that I saw. So I wanted to share it with you guys. And also, like, I like this person's uh analysis. It's not just commentary. She does like deep analysis of all types of current stuff that's going on, from, Love Island to what's that girl, Danish Deception, all types of things. But I like the depth of her analysis and how far she takes it and how she puts it in a sociological, broader conversations, and connecting those dots of, we'll have these conversations on community. And this is how this stuff affects the community. This is how this stuff is affecting and has been affecting the community, so that you can have a broader understanding of the problem and then be able to come up with more effective solutions, which is at the heart of what this platform is about. Just in the context of women, Black women self-actualizing. And so, yes, sometimes, most of the time, a lot of the time, not even sometimes, most times, men aren't even thought about, right? But there are those times when men insist upon themselves and try to inject themselves, where it becomes a push, where it becomes an antagonistic, battle, because you are trying to insert and insist yourself upon this thing that ain't got nothing to do with you. Anyway. Ooh, child. So yeah, we're gonna watch that. I'm gonna go ahead and hit this intro, and we'll be back.
You in charge of the girls, right? I am in charge of the girls. Are you in charge of the girls? I am in charge of the girls.
Okay, so let me pull up what I was watching. Oh, how are you guys? How y'all doing? We having a good time? I want to apologize. No, not apologize. It's not a. It's like it's not a bad thing. But I want to point out that like I tried to for some reason on my computer it won't let me speed up videos. Like I'll go, you'll see me trying to mess with it, and it just doesn't respond to me. So um we're going to have to watch it, but it's like 40 something minutes. We've watched longer things. And I think it's really interesting. I enjoy it. This lady's name is Alex Baytall. She's going to be the one on the left, and that's her little sister. I've never seen her before. She's cute as a button. But they're having this conversation together. So we're going to watch this, and then I'll come in and do commentary. Hold on, I'm sorry. I'm sitting here playing it, and then I look at myself and I realize y'all looking at me. Okay, there we go.
All right, welcome to The Process with Alex Baytall and now Kyra Baytall. And today we're finally asking the $1,000,000 question. Is it embarrassing to have a boyfriend?
Hello, welcome to me. Wait, I'm sorry.
Welcome
Hi.
to you. No, you All right, so is this about dogpiling on the most annoying girl you know? Or is it saying something truly about the state of heterosexual dating in the Western world right now? And then you add on TikTok, social media, all that sort of stuff. We're going to process it together. We have our new official co-host, Kyra Baytall, my sister. This is wonderful. All right. Shantae Joseph, she wrote this piece for Vogue. This came out, I want to say, about a month ago. When was the first time you heard it?
Gosh, has it not been longer? It feels longer.
It may have been 2 months. We're now getting to it, but what I did not expect to happen was that people were still going to be talking about it. And I think I should have guessed that based off of the question. So it's a short piece. It just asks exactly that. Is it embarrassing to have a boyfriend now? I was a little surprised that the piece was even shorter than I thought, because I thought for all that controversy, she maybe had made like 15 controversial points. And it was just that main question. So Shantae Joseph, she references her own disinterest, a couple trends that she's seen online, and how people present in their content their boyfriends, or how they choose to not present their boyfriends but still present them to show the status of having a boyfriend or being partnered. And while the piece has been out for some time, there was immediately resounding agreement, and there was also immediate pushback. No surprise there. Some heated discussion, because on one hand we have this essay meeting a world in which people are already chattering about how men in the Western world are not prepared to date the modern single woman, and how them having mutually satisfying, mature relationships with modern women seems to be a very difficult thing to obtain. And then there's this other side to it, that we live in a patriarchal society that emotionally neglects men. It doesn't prepare our little boys to be in healthy partnered relationships, because boys' feelings, boys' emotion, they're just not that important. It's easier to raise boys than it is to raise girls. And then what do we do when we see the really cool girls that we admire and respect, and they get with men who sometimes seem to drag them down? And then you have the other side, where people who have lovely relationships with men are miffed, and there's this epidemic of thinking every piece of content applies to you. So I know I love men and am very connected to the men in my life, and I want a better world for them. And do you have any opening thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess so. It was October 29th, so
Okay.
a little over a month ago. And I also agree that it felt, when I was reading it, I thought, wait, we've been talking about this for so long and this is so short. I thought there was more here. But the reality is, I think she's weaving together a sentiment that has been brewing and that exists, so that people didn't need a whole thesis to read what she had to say and be like, yeah, I actually also agree. It was a jumping point from months of that sentiment being on the internet. So it didn't have to be too long.
And potentially, what do you think of the fact that it being so short that people could project or read into their own discomfort or discontent?
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's definitely true.
5 steps forward. There's always that's meeting the kind of anxiety that comes when found in going back to the old days, go in this present moment where there seems to be a cultural pendulum swing back to finding solace and political security in being with a man.
As in, do I think it's calling it out, or do I, like, what do you mean? I guess.
I have sensed a retreat or a sense of safety being found in going back to the old days, going back to what we knew, that there is a level of scurrying back from the sort of brief moment of millennial optimism that like everything's changing, feminism's popular, we have a whole new world in front of us, Obama, girls, all sorts of things like that, right? And then you have this pushback, this conservative rise that's meeting the kind of anxiety that comes when people are starting to talk about, wait a minute, maybe we really should reconsider our relationship to the police or reconsider our relationship to colonial America or whatever, right? There was this loud, open discussion about reconsidering everything that happened when people were feeling a sense of hope and optimism that even in a broken system, change could happen. Yes, we can. And then you have this swing back from a group of people who are like, not so fast, right? Every movement that takes 5 steps forward, there's always a group of people who are like, this is scary, this is giving me anxiety, we should go 10 steps back, right? Like, it's too much to have a black woman to be president, or it's too much to, like, the White House got a little too, quote unquote, gay or whatever, and then people swing back. So I found this title and this essay to be something that would have been written maybe even a couple years ago, not right now.
Interesting. I actually think that right now it makes a lot of sense to me for a couple of reasons. First of all, I do recognize what you're saying. The whole people are getting, very comfortable, or they're wanting to be comfortable in the traditional. That's definitely a phenomenon that's happening. I think the whole trad wife thing, obviously, and other examples of that. But there's also that what me and a girl I know from work call the flapper girl trend, I guess, where we were just commiserating how so many people we know are cutting their hair off, her included. I walked up to her one day at an event and I said, "Oh my gosh, you cut your hair." And she's like, "Yeah, I cut my hair." And I said, "Wait, my therapist cut her hair yesterday." And she just took scissors to her hair and cut it. And then she was like, "Wait, my friends were saying that too." And then we were thinking about it and we said, okay, so you know how everything is so tumultuous right now and people are going to the traditional. There's also some people who are going to the complete opposite of that. They're like, well, I don't want to be desirable to man because what does that even give me at all? I'm just going to cut my hair off. I'm going to be me. I'm going to do whatever, whatever I want because the whole world's going to hell. So it's like not necessarily anti-traditional, but it's a self-centered, not even in a bad way. It's like a centering yourself and centering what experiences you want to have and your autonomy to do those things, even when the rest of the world feels like it's not in your control at all.
To your point, I feel
I wanted to come in and talk because that was the point in watching it by myself when I was like, oh, I might have to watch it with the girlies because I'm like, yes, it really is that thing. And it doesn't have to, cutting your hair is one way, but everything that I talk about on this platform is about centering yourself in the sense of like, we keep having these conversations about decenter men, decenter men, decenter men, decenter men. And it's like, okay, but that's how we keep winding up in the same conversations and in the conversations with the men and everything, because it's about decenter men and they're, oh, you want to decenter us. And then you see all the stuff they're coming in. And mind you, I never even said the phrase decenter men within the conversation, that I was reading the comments under. That phrase was never uttered. But that was the discussion that was being had of like what it would look like to decenter men and what reasoning we have to want to decenter men, like things that we could do in the wake of decentering men with that freed up time, energy, emotional, mental bandwidth. right? So, and you see how virulently they responded to me again during this, innocuous conversation. And mind you, a conversation specifically about this trend we have of men who are not them. They're not Diddy in the sense of like I don't know what, I can't say I know for certain what those men would do with money or anything, but I'm saying that it's something to be said that we're seeing these people that get to this level, and every time they get to this level, these are not things that are made up. And where they're wanting to do, like I said, they want to play that game of, oh well, yeah, her boundary was moved from here to here based off of his will. He wanted things, he didn't just accept her boundary where it was. He wanted some things and she wanted him, and so the boundary got moved, but he's technically like, those are the conversations we're winding up having, where I'm having the conversations of, why is this acceptable for people not to have boundaries, and why are we holding women to this standard of, you're supposed to maintain boundaries because that's what a lady does, but also if somehow you are trapped, and that's the social construct and the energetic contract of, you are trapped to, as long as you do this dance with me, you can never hold me accountable for what I'm doing as long as I stay on the other side of your boundary. And I'm saying it's time for us to not even renegotiate, to end that social contract of like, oh, this is how we're going to interact with you, and it's going to be an unspoken thing, and we're never going to examine or dissect the mechanics of that and what that says about you, this person, right? Because that is the pushback of, why are you, I always been yelling for years, scrutinize these men. And that's that scrutiny. It's not even about scrutinizing the men as much as it's about scrutinizing the position. But the men are so holding on to the position so deeply, so hard, that they have now made that a part of manhood, and to attack that position is to attack manhood. Okay. But now, like I said, now this conversation is the conversation I'm talking about women just not even engaging in involving them in that analysis of us ourselves sitting, because as long as we talk to them about it, they're going to try to obfuscate what's going on. They're going to try to keep themselves on the other side of your boundary while still moving you along the line. You get what I'm saying? And so I'm saying, let's remove ourselves from that track. Let them do that amongst themselves. And we come and sit down and again, balance our nervous systems and see what we can come up with actually doing things where we're not having to attempt, and fail at protecting our boundaries within this dynamic.
I think, and I know that this is why I stopped doing ballet pink short nails and really nude colors, and I went to this kind of thing, because it just I felt this sense of, I don't even know how to say this, I felt that the rules or the things that I had adhered to as respectable, it just felt like we're not in an era of respectability at all, whatever that means, and that if I feel like having longer claws, essentially, with crazy colors, it doesn't make me less of, the Southern girl I grew up to be, right? Whose mom was like, why do you have black nail polish on your toes? So that, it doesn't matter. The rules don't count anymore, and I think I'm also just tired of the monotone and the crumb. I'm happy for people to do what they want to do, but I think I put myself in a situation where I was only working within this limited range, and then I got sick of the limited range. So
yeah, like the constructs or the constraints didn't save us. They didn't protect us from the drama that's happening, or the lack of autonomy we feel over our own lives. So why not just go out and do what we think is fun, and not to like preempt a Charlie Taylor conversation. But at the same time, when I'm listening to Brat, which came out before this article comes out in the context of Brat, I'm thinking, I'm seeing a girl who's free, who's independent, who's, working through life in a very messy way in front of everybody. And I think that kind of goes in hand with the questioning of a boyfriend, because you're thinking, okay, we want to be vulnerable, we want to be independent. Does having a boyfriend and having a traditional, monogamous, traditional relationship with a man, does that limit our freewheeling women experience in any way? And like, if you pick the wrong man, yeah, it will. So maybe there's something to be said about avoiding men as a maybe substitute for wanting to have independence as a woman. Or
like I said, the first thing she had said, I was like, oh yeah, it piqued my interest. And then when they got into this part of the conversation that they're about to, expound on, I was like, oh my God, because this is in this short conversation, they're basically going to say everything that I've been saying on this platform for years now about, relating to men and where I know I'm at personally as a person, and my viewpoint on why I'm like choosing to engage or not engage with men and everything. So yeah. Oh, good, Jazzy. I'm glad to see you. I see you in a minute at the lives.
experience that, or express independence, do whatever you want without asking your boyfriend, do you like this haircut on me? No, I don't care, I'm going to do it, I don't have a boyfriend. So I don't think they're mutually exclusive, but I think in the context of like a brat summer world, this article coming out makes a lot of sense.
That is immediately tying back to what I think Shantae Joseph was even hinting at or referencing in the piece, because you have just the reality that a woman is typically socialized with a lot of social obligations in America that men are not socialized to have. Or if men are socialized to have relationships with people, those obligations to those women, to those partners, to those friends, they are not at odds with his career. They're not at odds with his self-possession. They are not at odds with his agency to his own body or his ability to have a fulfilling philosophical or rich interior life. Whereas for women, in most of our understanding of the Western society we've grown up in, for them to be considered good women, there's a lot of I don't want to say self-annihilation, but there's a lot that you give up in order to make all of that possible and to make that happen. And so sometimes, but I mean, granted, there's a trade-off, right? Because you fulfill the social obligations to look like you are worthy of being chosen, to look like you are somebody who is good enough to be blessed with a relationship in this society. And there is a social reward to it. There's a status of being a woman who's wanted and desired, a woman who is taken off the market.
Now, mind you, some of y'all may remember, like in different places, that I was talking, and I was talking about like coming to the understanding that even though I have my viewpoint of things and I see things a certain way and I know what I know, I also know that there are some women that are willing to pay those that are willing to what's they call it, a tolerable level of unhappiness. They're willing to tolerate that stuff because they want the benefits. And there are they're not benefits to us, but there are social benefits to being able, if nothing else, the social benefit of being able to shut somebody down, of saying, well, I'm actually married, so now you can't try to, you know what I mean, like that kind of cuts through some of the BS. Or I'm talking about in the context of like having these conversations or whatever. But in general, if you're not even trying to be in opposition in any way, and you're just, okay, you're a married, respectable woman, and you've been chosen, and you know how to behave and all these other things, like the social currency, like I cannot, and I would not ever try to act like it doesn't have social value within the system that we live in. But I'm saying, when we're talking, there's two different things. There's the system that we live in, and then there's our actual personal lives, inner lives, and everything else. And it's like those two things don't always coincide. And of course, they're talking about it.
And obviously we can understand just from psychology that that's not necessarily evil. That's just how it is, right? If somebody sees you and goes, this is a lovely, kind person. Of course, she's not going to last long in the dating market. It does say something about your internal or social or financial quote unquote worth, right? It just does. There's people who are miserable and terrible to other people, and we ask, why are they even partnered? Or well, it makes sense that they're not partnered. But with Shante Joseph's piece, when she's talking about what can make it embarrassing and when women's content becomes boring, or even all going back to what you were saying with Taylor Swift and her getting a boyfriend and how people then started to treat or look at her art very differently. The boy
Also, too, this just dawned on me. I think a part of the reason why people might feel like it's boring because it's like if you already doing that in your own life, like you're already putting up with it. Because, like I said, as somebody who's outside the matrix of interacting with men or whatever, when I see women interacting with men, whether it's their man or just men in general, I can pick up on them subtle nuances of them actively navigating that and tolerating it and handling the men. You get what I'm saying? And it stresses me out just watching it. So I think that's a part of the process too, is like, especially if you have your own man or you're living a life where you opted out of that, you don't want to see nobody else. That's just like the women that come on and be like, oh, my man ate all my food. I cooked food for the whole day and they ate the whole pan of food and he didn't. Oh, darn him, I'm so mad at him. And then you start talking and then don't come at me and my husband, you just I don't have the bandwidth for that. You know what I'm like? That's not something I have to put up with. That's something you have to put up with. I don't have to put up with him or you in that. And I'm not saying every woman that does that, that is happening, but it is those things that even if you're seeing a woman with their man and stuff, and you're seeing those little subtle nuances of the man being disrespectful to her, but like it's just a lot of different things that even watching another woman going through that, and they'll get to that, but watching another woman going through those things is stressful and triggering. While wanting her to be happy, while wanting her to have whatever her heart desires, even up to and including partnership. But it's like, that shit is stressful, even secondhand.
boyfriend can be a shortcut to fulfillment or being your own person, because that having a boyfriend is an identity, it's a status marker, it's something that says something about you. You don't necessarily then have to go out and do a bunch of work to work on that in yourself to prove anything or have that. You just have the boyfriend and people are like, okay, you're good, you have this, you have that, whatever. So I mean, we know people who, or we've watched stories of people who were very intriguing and they had fascinating lives and they had hobbies and they did things, and then they got in a relationship and that person disappeared. So I wonder how much of that has to do with that's what's embarrassing, not just, which we can talk about later, the whole dating as a humiliation ritual, but watching this person just disappear into a relationship. And what do you think are the differences, though, between having good, healthy social obligations to your partner and sacrificing, because that's what a partnership is, and particularly a gendered experience of women getting with men and then they just get subsumed by that man?
Yeah, I think you have to look at what makes a good boyfriend socially and what makes a good girlfriend socially in the eyes of, maybe the worst stereotypes of our society. And when you answer those questions and you see how maybe the female experience lends itself more to self-annihilation than the male experience when you're, describing these stereotypes of what makes a good girlfriend or boyfriend, then you could maybe uncover how implicit some of these assumptions are in our forms of relationships. For example, if you're a good boyfriend, I think most people might offer up that you provide, or you're kind and you're good to this person, and you make their life easier in some way. But then if you think what makes a good girlfriend, it's almost like, yeah, how well do you slot into your boyfriend's life? Are you chill? Oh yeah, she's such a good girlfriend. She's so chill. Like, she lets him do this. She lets him play video games. She lets him whatever, or she makes food for him. Or you see these these acts of service come up, I think, a lot. And I guess you could argue, do they come up more? Do they come up less? Whatever. It's going to depend on who you ask. But I think by and large in our society, there is this construct of a good girlfriend who is someone who slots into her boyfriend's life and makes things easier for him and, allows him to be all that he is. And you definitely see that in the evangelical constructs that we grew up with, where the help meet person is the wife who, without them, you wouldn't be able to operate. But maybe that's not something that we need to sort of put on a pedestal when we're trying to define relationships. Like,
So this for me, when she's saying that, I'm thinking back to, the conversation I was having where I was talking about specifically like the men who reach a certain level of power and influence and what they do with that power and influence. And now with what she's saying, I'm thinking about how like and they're going to talk about this also later on, how that kind of implicates the women because it's really frustrating to see how, especially in a situation of like a Bill Cosby and everything, it becomes a question of, unless the woman is just standing behind the man and like, oh yeah, he didn't do anything wrong and I just love him, her punishment, if she does kind of side eye him even a little bit, is, oh well, you were implicit too, you were complicit too because you did, you know what I mean? So it's like, in dealing with these men, no matter what they choose to do, at what level, at what scale, and like I said, they can do literal atrocities, but it's always going to fall back on the victims and or any of the women and people around them to not just hold them accountable to even have envisioning. Because this is my thing, anything that you're doing, let me get big a little bit just for a second. In anything that you're doing, you have to have a vision. And for me, the focus of the stuff that I was saying is that clearly those people envisioned that system that they built to be able to do that thing. And in them envisioning that system is an understanding that they want people have to be fed into that. So that's not just some innocuous thing of, oh, he's just freaky, oh, he just has taste in there. There is that entitlement to interacting with people, and then to set up that system that is meant for gratification through sadism. Basically, they're connecting these other things that could just be standalone good things. Like Diddy, we could be sitting here and celebrating him for changing the lives of, the artists that did the work and that showed up and did their part in what he built. We could be celebrating him solely for that, but what it appears is that he did that, but he also was using that to ultimately do this over here. And what we're being asked is to ignore not only the horror that happened over here, but the intention around creating a system and feeding this thing that could have been a solely a benefit to the community into this. This is the primary system, and we're being asked, this was the primary vision rather, and we're being asked to ignore that and not see it that way. And you basically a shell corporate, use this as a shell corporation. So in Bill Cosby's case, it's his work in television media. In Diddy's case, is his work in music media. In Russell Simmons' case, is his work in music media. We're being asked and told to utilize this to basically don't look behind the curtain, when clearly this was part of the vision too, if not the main part of the vision. And I suspect the whole reason of wanting to do this is to be able to do this. And even if it's not, you know what I mean? Like, even if this is just kind of like, oh, this is the cherry on top, this is still really bad. And like I said, they connect their thing because they're using this over here to funnel people into this system, this background system. That is the problem. That is the problem.
Maybe you do want your boyfriend to be able to operate without you. Maybe as an independent person, you want to, have some kind of self-sufficiency. And if being a girlfriend means that you lose that, then I could see how that would be lame. And that's not going to be every relationship, obviously. That's not everybody. But if having the commitment and, like you said, like the external validation that, yes, I'm a good person, I am nice enough to be at this level of vulnerability with another person to the point where they're calling me their girlfriend, then like that does validate you, but does it make you a servant? Like, it's going to depend on your relationship. But I could see how people would think, oh, well, in the current, construction of girlfriend boyfriend in the world, I am losing a lot as a girl if I get a boyfriend. So, I think that's kind of lame. And I wouldn't fault anyone for thinking that, honestly. I really wouldn't.
Because in a way, it is kind of lame when we see really beautiful, inside and out, sparkly, lovely personalities become people who spend a lot of time trying to keep a not that great relationship on life support. We watch all these talents and this social acumen and this intelligence and this energy go into a mediocre partnership where you're like, I don't even know what you're getting out of this to begin with. And I'm not saying that in a financial way. Which I also think I do think half. Well, we'll talk about this later. I do think half of the Danish deception could have been avoided if you actually cared about your financial money and health and wellness and not. But that's a whole other story. Right now it's the holidays. We have a lot of Hallmark movies coming out, and you have the woman's evolution and arc is from the career, her own social circle, her own defined life. She took her own path out of her hometown because she knew what she wanted. And then it's this discovery of like, well, she shouldn't have trusted what she wanted, and she didn't know what she wanted. And now that she's back home and everyone else is telling her and reminding her what she truly wants, she can walk away from that and come home. Erica Kirk was just talking on, I believe it was the New York Times, the summit stage, and she was juxtaposing her life as someone who was in Manhattan and living her life to someone who, through Charlie, was able to see that what would really make her happy. And I don't fault people or anyone who wants a loving, healthy partnership with a guy that loves them back, or beautiful children that look like them, or children that they bring in through a beautiful story of adoption and that they raise with their family. There's
Yeah, I saw this part too, and I was just like, it, it's it's funny because I mean, some of my I mean, they have a formula. They have a formula, but it's funny because I mentioned in the comments and stuff that I have a community full of single women. I have a community of married women and things like that. And when it comes to this idea of like women getting married and having babies and this and that and the other and having that cutesy, experience or whatever, I love to see that when it works out. You know what I mean? I like to see it. But like I said, there's so much not that going on. Like there are some people that I follow on TikTok, they're married women. And this one woman, she does a lot of mom. She's like, her husband's in the military, and she does a lot of mom life. She does couponing. She does all these types of things. But it is a thing where it's like, wow, her motherhood and her wifehood is a major factor of and centered around it. It's about that the interest that she has in the things that she does, the ways that she handles those things and does that work. You know what I mean? Like the way that the couponing and things like that, like she's still a person, an individual, and how she chooses, how she maneuvers handling that work and stuff is what interests me, and how fun and bright and funny and loving and sweet, and it's all like it gives you all the feels, all the feel good things. So for me, like I said, it's not about not wanting to see people in loving relationships, but I'm tired of seeing, strife and strain that is due to this type of, the dynamic of there's a male that feels it's his right to move her boundaries at will, and the bullshit that comes up from that. You get what I'm saying?
There's nothing wrong with that. I just get suspicious of the people who say, in order for you to have that, there's this version of yourself, or there's this access to self exploration and knowing yourself and respecting that individual human you are, that you have to cut off or put to the wayside. And it's never asked of the men. And I think the reason to be suspicious is not because we're like, well, we want the right to be selfish and do whatever we want or whatever. It's just that when you look at history, when you look at society, you see how every time we ask a group of people to dehumanize themselves or downplay the things that make them an individual or a person that need to be honored and respected, they end up taking a second class citizen role in this country or being pushed into one. And I do think it's suspicious. I mean, it's not suspicious, we understand history, but the people who are saying that there are two sides to this, where you can either be somebody who is doing the job they love or doing the work they love, or somebody who understands that their greatest calling is serving children and a husband. Which camp is asking for the right for women to have political voices in this country? Maybe we should get rid of that right. Maybe it's questionable. Should they have political power? Why is it only possible to do that if you're giving up more and more social, financial, and educational power?
Yeah, why is it tied? Yeah, super, super suspicious. So like, okay, how would this paradigm benefit from us losing our political power? And then you realize, oh, well, there are quite a few ways they could benefit from taking that away. So maybe that explains why. Maybe it's not so much a result of a traditional lifestyle that women lose power, but it's a specific construction that benefits a specific group of people. So they tie the two, because the emotional power of the value of a traditional lifestyle can sway people who may not be swayed by just, oh, women should lose agency. That's a good idea. You're not going to get women by doing that. You're not going to like encourage anyone to follow that just laid out bare like that. So you have to couch it in these other priorities that are not inherently bad themselves, but they're useful tools when you're trying to sway a bunch of people to follow your paradigm. But I think
romanticized.
Yeah, exactly.
Romanticized.
Yeah.
And sorry, what?
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that romanticizing the trad wife thing, and other people who are looking, and those, like, we grew up around that whole world. You look at how it becomes, once you get closer, it's so obviously a scam that the people who are selling the biggest trad wife lifestyle are CEOs, they're entrepreneurs, they're social media wizards, they have a whole management team, they've got people helping them, they are running businesses and directing their husband and directing their children, and there's so much leadership, they're like sometimes the primary breadwinner in their home. So that's obviously a scam. And then there's the secondary scam, which is what is typically experienced by women who become trad wives in the circles we grew up in, where you find yourself giving up a lot of financial power, a lot of educational power, or even if you're very educated and then you end up doing this, there's like 20 years of your life that disappear because our country does not value domestic labor. You're putting yourself in a situation where if that man was to decide to leave you, you would be in big trouble. You're also putting yourself in a situation where your resume, maybe some people don't care about this, maybe they got a prenup, whatever, but there's people who in order to do all of the trad wife milestones and hit all those goals, they really have to significantly let off on whatever it was they could have done that would have supported them, or their own interests, or their own whatever, because they have to be full-time cooks, full-time parents, full-time house managers. It's a leadership position without any of the actual glory. You get some social capital for that. And so for those of us who grew up and saw how that really messed people up, or how it ended up not working when the divorces came home to roost, we see it as a scam. So that's how I could also see how Shantae Joseph is like, this is embarrassing. Because in some ways it is embarrassing that we've come this far. We have all these avenues, and now you have people that are willing to give up a freedom that they didn't pay for because they don't know what it costs. They don't know what it costs suffragettes. They don't know what it costs black women. They don't know what it costs.
This was really important to me too, because it's like this, that just that phrase of they don't know what it costs. I was talking the other day to you, and I talk every now and then about like energetic contracts and energetic currency and things like that. And the conversation that I was having in terms of like, I don't feel like these women, I don't feel like these women know or fully understand, like I said, the negotiations of what they're buying into or what they're participating in. Because I'm saying that as someone who, when I've talked, for those of y'all before that have seen me talk about my book and everything, and I talk about how I was engaging with my oldest daughter's father under the assumptions, the beliefs that our interactions meant something specific for the both of us. And then coming to the understanding that he had a completely different idea about what we were doing, but not even in the, because it's one thing to be like, okay, we just had two different ideas about what we were doing, but similar to that understanding of going through that dynamic of, okay, my boundaries here, but this person is engaging me in this thing where we're actually moving my boundary back and forth, back and forth, back and forth at this person's leisure. But understanding that the reason I was willing to do that was because I thought I was dealing with someone who had the same objectives as I, which is to secure our child, to you know what I mean, to give our child security, to make sure our child has everything that she needs to become a proper citizen in the world, to be loved and all of those things. And recognizing that no, he's just viewing me as a consumable woman who he happens to have a connection with, that he leverages to build that belief in me that yes, we both have the same objectives. And so me not understanding that, yes, when I'm acquiescing to interacting with you, I'm acquiescing to interact with you in the interest of us, calibrating and coming together and working towards this common goal together, when actually what I am acquiescing to is you playing on my top, knowing that that's not your intent ever. And so it's like with women, like it's hard to see women in earnest coming and trying to be like, hey, I want this to work, and I want to be able to work with Black men, and I want us to be able to come together in community, and I want all these things, that the picture looks like what you think the men want, but you're not understanding that what is the set like behind the image of that picture, of the interactions and the agreements and stuff that are going on that make up what that picture looks like. And not knowing that when you think you're just consenting to that picture, you're also consenting to all this other stuff that you can't even conceptualize, because your brain just does not work like that. To, when I was breaking it down to the person I was talking to in the last video, and they were saying, I never thought of those things. That's the stuff that I'm talking about. It's that you wouldn't think of those things because your objective doesn't even need to be that precise, because you're not trying to control that person in the way that they're trying to control you. You're trying to control the situation to it because you want the situation. It's not that you want it to be this, but they want to control the people within the situation in very particular ways.
Native American women who were not given the chance to even reproduce if they wanted to. So sometimes I look at these people and I think you're glorifying giving up or making it harder to have recourse when or if you need it. You just look stupid. It's not the cookies that are stupid. It's not the cute little kids in the outfits. It's not the baking bread that's stupid. It's the saying, I can't have this unless I give up significant social power or political power. And
sorry, I'm stopping to get, but yes, it is not a thing, and that's what is so like. That's another thing. I'm not. That's not what is so. It's another thing that's annoying. Because, like I said, when people coming over and come, oh, you just mad at. I like to see, Leave It to Beaver, white picket fence type stuff, and I like to see it in black. But what I don't like to see is those negotiations or the result of those negotiations where the woman is just like, oh, well, I love you and I want to be a good woman and I want to be a good mother, and they're telling me that I need to do these things and allow you this stuff, this space to do whatever you want to do in order to be a good mother. And then they get in it and it's like, oh my God, what's happening? And then they become, vilified like Cassie, like other victims, because, oh, well, you consented to it. He didn't overstep your boundary because you allowed it. And I feel like trying to find that clip of I Could Kill You. What was it called? With Michaela Coel, where she's discussing that idea of these men playing along that line, that like I'm talking about. And she's saying, you got to get right there with them and see, I see you, and wherever you at, I'm gonna be right there too. So what you want to do? Because I can do some things from my end too. That I'm that person. I'm watching you. And whatever you choose to do, I'm gonna follow your lead, man. I'm gonna follow your lead, Kane. But I know the game that you're playing. I'm not playing the game you want me to play. I'm not even playing, but I'm watching the game you playing. I know the game you're playing, and I'm going to deal with you off of that basis. I'm not going to deal with you off the basis of, oh, well, man, and the man needs to be in control, and the woman needs to be submissive, and if I do these things just right, if I play this part just right, they won't talk bad about me.
while I'm at it, I would be happy if the government found ways to take that power away from women who have not chosen this either.
Yeah, it's so obviously a scam. Sorry, someone decided to jump. It's very, very obviously a scam when it's sorry. It's super obviously a scam when it's laid out like that. And I think it is embarrassing to have fallen for the scam. And if you're anywhere on the outside, you could see that and think, oh, wow, ew, I don't want to do that. But in this world, I think there's two things can be true at once. Like, I would love to bake bread. I would love to have time to host friends. I would love to do all of these things. All of these things are incredibly attractive. Like, this home-based leisure and this social-based leisure is like so attractive to people now who are, most of us are so busy working or doing whatever that we don't have time to relax and enjoy that kind of stuff. We don't have the resources to do that. So it's understandable that these things themselves are so attractive and so desirable and wholesome that it's hard to categorize those as scams, but we're not. We're just saying they're included in a larger scam that takes away your power. But those things themselves are attractive. And I think that reminds me of the boyfriend being embarrassing article, because it's like, to have a boyfriend and to be in a healthy relationship, having a vulnerability with one person it's a very desirable, beautiful thing to have somebody who, they know you very well, you're open with them, you can communicate with them, you can rely on them. That's all amazing. But I think packaged inside the heteronormative construct of boyfriend, girlfriend, it can definitely be a scam. And it is embarrassing to have fallen for that scam, like we said. But it's also that I think there's an additional layer to it where maybe it's even the thing itself, like being vulnerable, having this committed person, having this person to come home to or whatever. That might be, while it sounds great, and I think a lot of people internally maybe do resonate with wanting that experience, maybe it's cringy on the level where you're thinking the coolest person ever is someone who's disconnected, who you don't really know. They're a little bit mysterious. They're cool. They have whatever they want going on. They don't have anyone to report to. You know, they're grown, whatever. And so if you're constructing that person in your mind and calling them cool, then maybe this person who is openly being vulnerable, like, you know, trusting this person, being trusted by this person, maybe that is lame. I don't know. Depending on your value system, that
I I want to. So I'll say for me, when it comes to what she said, she's saying like the. I mean, y'all know what she's saying, but she's saying the mysterious, aloof person comes off as cooler. And for me, it's not so much about that. Like when it comes to vulnerability, like I said, for me, it's more of a thing of being empathetic to that position of being vulnerable and and really going for it and hoping, thinking, feeling that you can just implicitly trust this person. But again, being able to see the markers that they are bringing us. And when I say they, I'm talking about, because we're talking about women on social media, they are bringing us these markers that are saying, girl, no, that's a red flag. Girl, no, he's actively pushing you or has already pushed you beyond your boundary line, your start off boundary line. It's triggering. You know what I mean? And I don't just mean triggering like, I'm so mad. It's triggering of like, oh my God, what she's going through, what she's about to go through. Because once I know for me, once I came to that realization of understanding that that was the dynamic that I would have engaged in, and there is this space where you can feel shame about it in a way that people want you to, like the way that people were coming at the victims of Bill Cosby and Diddy and Russell Simmons and stuff, and saying, oh, well, you wanted, because you wanted the things that they knew you wanted, that they set up the systems to be able to be the people that you would have to come to provide you that thing, and knowing that they can then use that to feed you into this system I was talking about earlier that they've set up to engage you in this thing that don't have to have nothing to do with this. This is what you're coming for, but they set it up to be able to feed you into this system and then trap you there and then blame you. It's like it starts to make you feel bad about being agreeable and being vulnerable and being the type of way that you would need to be in a healthy relationship. But it's set up by design. You know what I mean? So, like I said, being outside of that system now, but watching people engage within it and empathizing with them in that desire to have, like I said, whatever that thing is, that is a righteous thing to want and a reasonable thing to want as a human being. It's just it's triggering and it's sad to watch for me.
itself could be a little bit lame. Whereas the trad wife thing, I mean, maybe there's a parallel there too, where you're like, well, I don't want to cook my own bread. And I want to be this jet setter girl. I want to live in Manhattan and have my groceries delivered. Like, it depends on what you want, I think. And so you have to be honest with yourself, which is hard to do when you're living in a society where there's so many things being impressed on you. You have to know what you want and then figure out where those things that you want might have been perverted by society to trap you in a scam. Because I think, I think having a person is great. I have a person.
Hold on, I had to stop what she said because that bit she said about knowing yourself, knowing what you want, and seeing how what you want has been perverted and twisted by this. So pretty much what I said. Seeing how you want has been perverted and twisted by the system in place. But you have to know that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to be really, really clear, because the clearer you are about what it is you want and why you want it, the harder it is for them to try to move you. You get what I'm saying? Because they're able to move you under the understanding of, well, if you move your boundary back here, you can have that thing. And you're just going for the thing. And again, I'm speaking from experience. I just wanted legitimacy for me and my child. You know what I mean? So like, okay, I'm going to do this dance with you and I'm going to keep messing with you. We're young and I'm just going to you're just being a young, dumb man. And boys will be boys and all of those things, the things you tell yourself ultimately, not necessarily because I truly believe that about him, but because that is the thought process that allows me to continue to feel like or hope that eventually he'll make good on the promise of providing me that thing that I think he can provide me, that I want, that I thinking I can only get from him. And that is the lie she's talking about, or the scam she's talking about, of how the system plays into perverting what it is that you want. Because again, I found out, decade over a decade later, that I could provide me and my kids that stability on my own.
I think being independent and living your life that way, that's also great if it's what you want and if it's on your terms. But I think a loving partnership can also be on your terms. So if we're just saying it's cringy to not live on your own terms, yeah, it's embarrassing, it's sad. Maybe it's not embarrassing. Maybe it's just sad that you don't get to live on your own terms. But you can do that within the construct of relationships, within the construct of homegrown life. You just have to carve that out for yourself. It's not going to just be handed to you. You're more likely to fall into the scam, I guess, than you are to construct a life that's the way you want it to be. And that's not always your fault. Resources, economy, politics, all control that to some degree.
What you're describing is a kind of earnestness that might seem lame or uncool, because an earnest person puts themselves in a situation where they're leaving a sexy city like Manhattan and they're moving to the Midwest, or they're moving to a small town where the boyfriend works. And something we both in different ways have done, right? Where I remember people, being sad that I wasn't going to be in a specific city full time because I wanted to be closer and not be long distance. And that was seen as like fundamentally uncool. But for me, for the health of the relationship and for, wanting to explore this further, I would have rather had more proximity than stay in full time in a certain fancy place. Now, the other aspect of so there's the earnest aspect, and then there's also this dangerous aspect, and that heterosexual men are our apex predator. They are our greatest threat, and there is something very, I mean, maybe this is just the way I have seen it. There is something very sleeping with the enemy, as Andrea Dworkin was saying, in terms of you are opening yourself up for a kind of risk that maybe certain quote unquote cool people who don't compromise for anyone and they have the ability to jet off to London. I was talking to some of my own friends and we were discussing how, yeah, the joys of relationships are wonderful. And then there's just the realities that you're now thinking about another person. You're not able to just take that master's program in London because it could mean something like you don't see each other for months. You can't just say, oh, well, I have this money now. I'm making all this money. I'm just going to go off here and go off there. And yes, you can. It just does cost your relationship something. And now you're having to think about that cost. And you were talking about the cool, mysterious girl that doesn't answer to anybody. In a way, that's a mythical person. That might be somebody like, well, we grew up, not we didn't grow up with TV, but growing up watching Sex and the City or growing up watching, some cool, hip person. They're not somebody who, like Charlotte is presented in Sex and the City as the traditional normie who's probably not that exciting. Her intimate life is not that exciting. Her social life's not, she might be aspirational. She might ultimately have the things that people want, but she's not presented as the cool kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. But the thing is, if you put Charlotte in any of the other girls' lives, is she going to be happy? And that's what Charlotte needs to, Charlotte needs to care about what Charlotte wants. And I think maybe that's what people think you gain when you are single, but that's not a given at all. You have to create that still, no matter what role you're playing or which character you are. You have to create that independence for yourself. So
you do. And there's a moral independence that I think we sometimes see compromised when we watch lovely, kind women, or people we assume are lovely, kind women, date men that are very cool on paper. They look like catches, but you meet them and you get to know them and they're kind of gross, or their politics are disgusting and against other people's human rights. And then you reevaluate how you see that girl, because now you're thinking, oh, this is the person that's going to be your most intimate partner. This is the person that you're going to go through life with, and you've chosen this person. And you would rather have the image or the facade of that person and be seen as partnered with that person, and it will make you look the other way on a lot of bad behavior. To me, I find that lame. I dare say embarrassing.
And that's literally what I'm talking about. Well, one of the things that I'm talking about, but that is the one of the contracts, the energetic and social contracts that you are engaging in when you choose to meet them where they are in these conversations and have those conversations under the pretense of, oh, they just don't understand. Because there is a tipping point at which you can recognize that, oh, they understand, or not even, it's not even about them understanding as much as it's about they're so deeply embedded into something that is fundamentally different than what it is. This goes beyond understanding. They are diametrically opposed to what it is that I am even proposing and bringing into the conversation. What they want is so far removed from what it is that I want. And it's kind of seeing those seeing a person become dissonant in real time once they're kind of being faced with that when interacting with men. And that's what I'm saying. Like when that happens, you see me, I just automatically switch it. I'm not doing this with you. I think you're stupid. I don't care. Like that's because to not do that would be to do that dance and to do that negotiation and to be trying to have, like I said, bonding conversations with someone that is bargaining with you.
Yeah, that is embarrassing to me too. I think it's embarrassing. And if you think about it, if your idea of men, or, a cringy man, or a man who fits your description, someone you'd be embarrassed to be with, if that includes all men, then just logically that means being with a man is embarrassing, because you're like, oh, you are in some ways putting up with, manhood or manness in your life.
I was telling you, when I was watching this, I was like, oh my God, they're saying all the things. They're saying all the things that I say. Has the time come, Lord? Are we finally approaching the time?
Have manness in your life on a very intimate level, and to me that is embarrassing, because there's nobody who I think is worth that. And that's like the extreme example, but I think there are people who think, well, I really can't imagine a man, like based on their experience, I can't imagine a man who's of a quality enough for me to be in a relationship, or I've not met one, or the people I know now are just this horrible level of low standard that I could not see myself partnering. So then you apply that conception to everyone else's relationship, and you're like, well, even if I can't see it, I imagine that being with a man would be so bad because there's not a good one. There's likely not somebody who meets the standard that I would need them to meet for me to be okay in that relationship. So that's like the total other end, but it's possible, that people are like, I assume that a man is going to be pretty trash. So if you're with a man, that's kind of, and that's kind of fair. I'm not gonna lie, kind of fair.
And it works in the direction of they're watching people settle for a morally gray or a person who's lacking in character because they do not have any faith in men. That also to me is lame, because I also do see men as human, and there are men that they resist the programming that tells them to take everything at the expense of other people. There are men who are obviously human, and they have morals and they have thoughts and they have their feelings that they protect within themselves. I respect those kind of men. I love good men. I love the for the love of men, or for the love of men, I think, yeah, I'm saying it, I said it twice, for the love of men hashtag, where it shows the humanity of these men that are out there living their lives, living their best lives, and they are such positive contributors to their community and the people around them, and you are better and everyone else is better for knowing them and loving them. And so there is a level of looking at the desperation of somebody who settles for a man who is banking on you thinking that all men are bad, so you might as well settle for.
I want to address what she was saying, about this idea of like, oh, there are men, this and that and the other. I love me a good black boy joy, you know, stuff going on the internet. I do see it is not impossible. Like, I'm not one of those people that's like, black men can't drink lemonade, or the different list of things they're saying that make men gay if they enjoy these things. To the contrary, I want to see men frolicking. I want to see them in engaging in joy and happiness. And I feel like the problem with the men that I talk about is the fact that they don't allow themselves, or they don't know how to access joy outside of, like I said, this idea of being the top dog, being submitted to, and all this other stuff. That is the problem I have with those kind of men, because and that's why they will come into a space where they're not wanted, where they weren't summoned. When it do be that serious fitness, sometimes it'll be like dumb stuff. Women will be saying like they can't drink lemonade, or like it will be some stupid things. Like, I know, but my thing is, like, I'm not taking that onto my back to try to sort all that out, because a big part of that is patriarchy that they establish and maintain and fight for, which is exactly what they're doing when they come into my comments talking that dumb shit that man said about, Diddy and them, and how, that was just, they do some bad and they do some good, minimizing and not taking an objective and rational and equitable accounting of the situation. And it's stuff like that. And it's just like, I feel like if men, a big part of why they don't like the idea of black girl magic and all these things that we're doing or whatever like that, because it is about centering ourselves and finding joy and having fun and being whimsical and being, ridiculous and silly and all those types of things. And those men, because they bought into this idea of, being the top dog is the most important thing, whether they bought it all the way in to the level of, those Andrew Tates and all that type of stuff, or whether they're just on that spectrum. Because that's my thing. I feel like all of the men are on a spectrum, and women are on spectrums too. And I'll get into that, in the new year. But like, I feel like all the men are on that spectrum where they buy into it at different levels. You know what I mean? And some at a very extreme level, and some at not so extreme levels. But even the not so extreme, the everyday levels are them, like I said, still playing those boundary games with the women that they have access to. Because but the subtext is, if they don't, if they could, they would be at that higher level where they're building actual systems, because the system is set up on how y'all interact with each other, person to person. If someone doesn't have all these resources, and the system is how y'all interact within your friend group and this and that and the other. You get what I'm saying? So their friends are going to back them up or whatever. But these major figures have bigger systems because they have more access to money, more access to people, labor, more access to networks, more access to legal help, so NDAs, and you get what I'm saying, like all these different things. There's so much more that's added to it, but it's all still the same thing, and it's happening at these smaller scales. And that is why they're so triggered when they see someone getting clapped for it, because it's like, oh well, I'm still doing it. It's just not at that big of a level. But I don't think they're telling themselves there's nothing wrong. Let me see what y'all saying. She said, I have a scary insight vitamin. I'll come you. I don't think it's too much left. It said, yep, women's foolish desire to marry at all costs is the only leverage they have in modern day. Don't give them that leverage. Marriage usually doesn't even benefit women. Yeah, they were talking about it. She said she got foresight. What you got foresight about? She good. Oh, what does it say? That's the way men weaponize the gender's low quality. As long as there's somebody worse than them, they don't feel the need to do better. And it's your fault for evaluating the quality objectively, as opposed to from a space of like, oh well, I have to take something. Because that's the whole thing. Those people coming and talking to me from that viewpoint of like, oh, partnering, and oh, you need to do this, and it's all from a level of partnering that has the assumption that I have to have a partner, or that I want a partner that I don't. So you're having a weird, stupid conversation. She said, this is probably why I hit not interested. You said I was late. Okay.
For the least bad one. That it, like I said, it reeks of a desperation, and it shows a lowering of your moral compass that it just leaves you feeling icky, because I do understand that finding quality people of any gender, finding quality people anywhere, it's not an easy thing, right? There's those people are either snatched up, or those are people you have to really hold out for and be patient for, or you have to be willing to look past other things that people might socially think make that person not attractive, and they really are attractive for who they are and what kind of person they are. And when you see people who are not willing to do that, that also doesn't seem very cool. It also seems quite desperate. Okay, so yeah, in 2017, I did want to ask you about this. 2017, Wonder Woman comes out. Loved it, bawled in the theater, totally enjoyed it. It was so nice to see this female character go see a superhero movie after being dragged to superhero movies for years, and finally see one that was just, it centered women who were capable and who had something that they believed in, and they were not just sexy side characters for the men to have something to look at while the real story was happening. I remember I was talking to an auntie 2 weeks after the film came out, and she told me she was disappointed that Diana had an intimate encounter and had any kind of relationship at all with Chris Pine's Steve Trevor character. I remember immediately telling her, does it have to be a binary where she's cool and she's capable and she's on a mission and that's that, or she's a romantic partner? If she's a full, whole person, if this is a story that is centering one incredible woman's journey, why can it not include her having romantic or physical interest in a man?
I remember when I watched that movie, I was frustrated at my. I watched it, and she gets with a man, and in the end, the man actually is very key to her beating the final boss or whatever. And I remember thinking, oh, well, that's disappointing for me to realize that the main female character getting with a man is like, yay, like, great, she can have it all, I guess, or like she can have romantic relationships. She's capable of that. That makes me like her more, or trust her more, or make me think that her life is more admirable. And I think I couldn't have articulated all of that at the time, but thinking back, I'm like, yeah, I think I was frustrated that it had to include that, because I wanted to know what it would feel like to watch a character go through a hardship and discover themselves, and then maybe not culminate in a romantic relationship, which I think is fair. But also I hear what you're saying, where you're like, well, why can't she? Like, if you're talking about a story about a man, wouldn't it be like he has everything, and then the cherry on top is his beloved woman who's in his life? Like, you would think, oh yeah, he just completed, the all the achievements you can have by having this woman. So I think it's fair, either side, to be like, well, I want to see her, without the backdrop of a relationship. But it's also fair to say, well, she has every right to be a full person, and having a man should not diminish her. It's just one element of being a person and having those relationships. And I think, if I remember correctly, at the end of the movie, I felt like it wasn't, I mean, everything, of course, is written in context of the people watching it, the shareholders, whatever. But I remember feeling at the end that it was a little bit emphasized, that it was like, we're together are stronger. It's okay to be weak in a moment. We're together, not necessarily this savior man character coming to save the day, as much as it was someone I have opened up to and trusted is now helping me be the best version of myself. And that's like an idealistic view, I guess, that you could say in a world of equity and equality. In the current world, yeah, I think it's totally fair to say, well, I would like to see some of these stories absent of a romantic lead in the form of a man, because these things are written in the context they're written in. But I also think that sometimes the helping each other aspect of a relationship can be emphasized without taking away from a female, the strength and autonomy of a woman.
I appreciate that, because I don't think I at the time thought of it in context of, say, film history or images of women at work or doing things where it potentially can't just exist on its own. It has to, like, we have to make the audience happy by proving something about her goodness, but she's still desirable, guys. Don't worry. Even though she's strong and has muscles and can defeat people, like, men still want her. I didn't think that that might potentially be something that could be read into it. I do think that the ending and the nuance matters here. The overall feeling and vibe of the film is, wow, we're all so powerful when we work together to defeat fascism or defeat authoritarianism, and women can lead the way. That is the more nuanced take, or the nuanced viewing, I think.
So that, like I said, and this is pretty much the end of it. Like we could kind of end it there, but that was basically the conversation. That was like literally the conversation we were having the other day of like, we could come together and beat these systems that are working against us together, and women can lead the way. And furthermore, like these interactions that we're dealing with, these negotiations, they are taking away power, brain capacity, energy, and stuff that could be lent to that end. That was the conversation that was being had. Yeah, and I decided to, because while we were watching this, oh, let me go ahead and put this down here. While we were watching this, I was trying to go in the background and figure out why I didn't see all those messages like on my phone. And I'm thinking because I did long time ago when I first set up, because I know people are weird and my name is my name on here, and I say the things that I say. I did set up where like certain words and stuff uh would be hidden on here, but it's bothering me that I'm seeing it at all, because I'm seeing it on the computer. I'm like, where did all these things come from? I didn't see it on my phone. And my concern ultimately is like y'all's experience. Like, what are you seeing when you come? So I'm going to have to like go in and play. And what I'm going to do is I answered all the people. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just go ahead and hide a lot of those things, just because, like I said, y'all not gonna come here and run them up. I don't care what y'all think or feel. It's not. This isn't a democracy. This is a cheerocracy. Okay, and so things are gonna go the way I want them to go. I'm not having these conversations to debate with you guys or go back and forth with you. And that's for anyone who's there. Now, in my mind, maybe it was a one and done thing. They're not here. I'm not tied to the idea that these people have to be there, but just in case any of them are lurking, I'm just letting you know, like, this is how we gonna do it. I don't Yeah. But I went ahead and put the what is this called? Oh, I put the link down there in case anybody wanted to come and talk. But generally, I think I'm finished. I said everything I wanted to say. I'm going to go ahead in the back and give y'all the outro, and then we'll come back and see, if anybody wants to talk or not.
Roll smooth with a.
Okay. So I don't see anybody coming up. It says too many women won't let go of the fantasy. Yeah, it is what it is. But like I said, that's another reason why I'm big on the like, because what I'm learning as I'm getting older is you can sit and say, "Oh, just stop, just take something away." Da, 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 da. But you can't expect to take something from people without giving them something else. And so it's like, for me, it's less about trying to just make people stop things or telling people to stop things, as much as trying to like redirect, like, hey, look at this. You know what I mean? Like, maybe focus on this instead of this, to put something else there. Something else needs to be there. People aren't good with idolatry, right? But maybe let's focus on other things. She said, if I smell negativity, exactly. Because what else can you do? The reason black men and those men who jumped in the comments were upset because if black women disengage, who will they have to kick? I'll even say I'm gonna be generous. It's yes, who would they have to kick, but also just who would they have, period. Because like I said, if they're so deeply tied, and shout out to Erica De Niro, their identities are so deeply tied to being submitted to. If there's nobody there to submit to them, who are they? How do they gauge their worth? You know what I mean? Like and I don't think, even though like I said, I believe they exist on a spectrum, and some are, on an extreme level and some are not so extreme level, but there is that thing of like there's some people who genuinely feel like they want to love people and be loved or whatever, but they're just buying into these ideologies. I'm willing to barter that also. If we're not, I think a lot of the part of why I'm getting that backlash too is because, as we used to see when the other person would talk to these men, they don't do that work of following their stuff to the logical conclusion of the things that they're going so hard for. And so someone sitting and saying to them explicitly, that this train of thought leads to this, and that means this about you. And their response is always to go, I'm not that, as opposed to adjust the behavior. So the insistence is you need to accept the behavior. You just aren't allowed to call it what it is, because I'm not going to stop the behavior. And that is where the problem is. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things, like, yes, when you're dealing with people, there needs to be somewhat of a communication and maybe even a little negotiation here or there. But the problem is that instead of them saying, oh, we are going to need to replace these behaviors with something more, healthy and equitable, their solution is stop thinking, stop critically thinking, stop analyzing, stop coming up with these realizations and understanding the dynamics of what's going on, and just vibe with me. Be dissonant with me, because I don't want, listen, some of you here already know what happened was based off of that. Don't call it that. Don't call that thing that I'm doing that. Because now I'm upset with you, and now I'm going to lash out at you because you called me that. No, we're not going to examine how that is that, and how I could just make some adjustments and move on in peace. We're going to be beefing now because you call these things that I'm doing, and I don't want to stop doing that. The reason but your point is submission is not enough. They have to abuse. Yeah, okay. Yes. I'm saying that, or what I'm saying is, I want women to be aware that it is a spectrum, and I want women to do the work when you're talking to these men. Don't just take for granted that wherever you are on the spectrum, that's where you'll stay. Because like I said, part of being on that spectrum is the belief that they're supposed to be able to do that dance with you and make you pay the cost for whatever the fallout is of where y'all end up when y'all stop twirling. So it's a bit more than just, oh yeah, they have to abuse you. It's not so much about them, the fact that they abuse you. It's about how it works, because a big part of the way that they're able to do it, is because it's not a black and white thing. It's not a flat out like you're either doing it or you're not. There's a lot of playing around with, like I said, the boundaries. There's a lot of playing around with what consent is and what encompasses your consent, and how far the scope of your consent goes, and what it is that you wanted, and playing with guilt around, oh well, because you wanted something that made you pliable to these negotiations that they were making with you about your body and your consent and your boundaries. You get what I'm saying? It's so much more complicated than that, because it's through that flattening of it, of, oh well, it's either good or bad, it's either black or white, that they're able to muddy the waters and take the accountability, like I said, off of this person that is setting up systems to engage in this dancing and this shuffling you around and put it back on you and put it on these other people and put it on everybody else. And now everybody's fighting about all this stuff. And this person just gets to, and they just get to, and nothing's getting done and nothing is changing. More importantly, nothing is changing because we're so busy fighting about what the problem is and who's the problem and the women are the problem and the men are the problem and y'all need to do it. But yeah, so that was it. That was all I had for you guys tonight. I thought that was important. Like I said, I have some work to do on my end. I'm going to have to hide these comments and stuff because I don't want to see that shit. I engaged as much as I felt like I needed to. I was very clear about where I stand and what I'm doing here and everything like that. So everybody's been put on notice. Everybody that belongs here, y'all good. Sorry that this is happening. Like I said, I'm doing what I'm doing on my end, but what I need y'all to do on your end is to engage in the comments of my stuff so that if and when people come, that's not all I'm seeing for my mental health. I need that. And also so that I know that I ain't just doing this for entertainment. I want to feel like I'm helping. So like I said, if you can engage in ways that let me know that you're listening, let me know what it is that speaks to you, what it is that has benefited you, if anything, or just what you like to see here when you come, what you liked about it and everything. That's what I ask of you. And also to help towards the things that I've been talking about so much in terms of our participation in social media and what trends. And I'm not saying I put it on y'all's shoulders to make me trend, but I'm saying just let's just do our due diligence here to send a message to the powers that be that this is the kind of content that we want to see, or these are the kind of conversations, the level of conversation that we want to have. That just happened. That literally, I don't know if you watched the beginning. You go back and watch the beginning and I explain what happened. But that literally happened all of yesterday because I had did a live. I did my live about, the app and everything. And I had put that behind a paywall, but me and somebody had a conversation at the end of that kind of segued into talking about Diddy and those people and power structures and all these other things. And I thought it was such a great idea and I knew y'all would like it, but I knew I was putting that other stuff away behind the paywall. So I was like, let me cut this and then just put this as a standalone video so y'all could still enjoy it. And then all these other people started coming out the woodwork with their bullshit. And I'm just like, whoa, what? And they pissed me off. And so I had to just let it be known, no, not here, not me, not today, not now, not ever. It's not, I'm not that person. So I will bid you guys a good night. Thank you so much for all of your support in any way, all the ways you have supported me up till now. We are 630, I'm going to say 638 because it says 639 or 637 strong. One of them people is an op. You'll see why if you go back, if you didn't see the beginning, if you go back and watch the beginning of what I said, one of them people is an op, so I'll count them. But we're 637 or 638 strong. I want to thank you all, for building me up to this point, for rocking with me, for being with me, for talking with me, for listening to me. That means so much to me. I will do everything I can to protect this space, and the people that belong in it. And let's make them comments pop with positivity, and I want to be clear. I mean, if you want to say stuff to the people, that's fine, but I'm not sending you there to attack people, and I'm not even sending you to that video specifically. I'm just saying in a general sense, moving on from here, when I make content, I want y'all to put positive comments. I'm not asking y'all to respond to them people. I'm asking y'all to talk to me in my comments, because I don't want them to be the only people talking to me in my comments. Okay. All right, guys. So I will see you all later. I love you.